Hello, Nami Nation. How is it going, Nami Nation? Holy crap. Chapter 1129 of One Piece just came out, and I must say, it is good day to be a Nami fan. Man, Nami has been shown time and time again to be a very influential and a very important character in One Piece, yet so many people disregard her as such. But this chapter showcased many multiple things of who Nami is, why Nami is so good, why Nami is such a great character, and why she is also very important to the story of One Piece. It had almost every single box checked out of why Nami is such a very good character and why she, essentially deserves to be known as the heroine of One Piece. So I'm going to go over as much as I can and give you my thoughts, my opinions and analysis of like what exactly happened with Nami in this chapter that really captures just how good of a character she really is, and why a lot of the hate she gets, why a lot of the the downplay she gets is just unwarranted. And I think that this chapter is just the prime example that Nami fans have been trying to tell One Piece fans so much about, like who she is and why she is so good in the story and just as a character. The first thing we should talk about is Nami as a navigator, because Nami as a navigator it's been downplayed so much by a lot of members of the One Piece community because they believe that, Nami as a navigator could be replaced. She's not needed. Luffy could replace her, or this idea that one of the Straw will die and Nami should die because she can be easily replaced by another navigator out and about in the One Piece world, where we don't actually see a lot of navigators in, the manga. We seen like at least one with Luffy with the Blackbeard, and now with this chapter we know that the person who is in charge of this so-called Toyland is a navigator who was a navigator for Hyruden's crew for the New Giant Pirates. And frankly, he doesn't look that good. He doesn't seem like he's that good at navigation either. Then again, we don't necessarily see any of his like navigational experience or skills at play in this chapter, so it's too early to claim that he's not a very good navigator, right? But we finally get to see another navigator in the story of One Piece, so that might be something in the future to keep an eye on. Who knows what we might see in terms of like just Nami in general and navigation as well. But what we do see in this chapter is a very rare opportunity, a very rare chance to actually see Nami showcase just how much of a prodigy she is of being just a navigator, right? Because so many people have downplayed her navigation skills, her ability to notice weather patterns and all this stuff. Yet Oda sometimes doesn't necessarily showcase it as often as he used to. We see it a lot more in pre-time skip, where she's able to detect a cyclone even while being sick, right? And was able to make sure that the crew gets away or doesn't go down the path or sail down the path where the cyclone was going to appear, and she was able to save their lives even though she was very ill. And Vivi even mentioned just how impressive that was. Like, that was incredibly impressive that she was able to predict that cyclone, which, by the way, on the Grand Line is so unpredictable to predict. So it showcased Nami's navigational and weather ability that plays into her navigation, how she's able to sail the seas and get the crew safely to one island to the next. In this chapter, we see another instance, another like proof to showcase just how good she is as a navigator. She stole a map in the previous chapter, and all of a sudden she looks at the map, she reads it, she looks at it, she analyzes it, and then she tosses it away. She just randomly tosses it away. Why? Because she memorized the entire map. Even Usopp was shocked. Like, why would she throw away the map, the blueprint, or whatever it was, right? It's because Nami memorized the map. It showcases that she is that damn good. It's very similar to how Frankie was able to memorize, blueprints for a ship, right? He's able to memorize that. I'm pretty sure he has, the blueprints for the, essentially, not, I guess it is Pluton, yeah. The blueprints for Pluton memorized. Nami showcases that same thing, and maybe that's how she's able to correctly make good maps, right? We know, based on what Online said, that she can accurately recreate maps, right? she can accurately recreate maps to almost a really, really very good degree. And part of that could be because of her memorization, her ability to memorize maps instantly and then be able to throw them out. It can also play into this idea that if Oda decides to do this, somehow the Straw Hat crew loses, their evidence from the red poneglyphs, right? They're finally getting ready to, get the last, poneglyph, but their, maps and all that info that they got and worked hard to get, all of a sudden disappears. Now they're all panicking and whatnot, but Nami remembers what she did, how she mapped it out. Maybe even Robin remembers it as well, right? That's also a possibility. But if Nami is able to memorize certain things like this, you could have a situation where she can remember the map and the points that she drew that connects, to where Lapdol is, and then they get the final red poneglyph, they finally get the last location. She, based off her memory, remembers, and she's able to map it out, and they were able to then sell to Lapdol. You are now given that idea to essentially give that moment to Nami as well, which is fantastic. But that is just one part of this chapter that really showcases just how important and really good Nami as a character is. Another moment that we see in this chapter is her essentially being a navigator, like actually leading the crew to where they need to go to escape this toy room. We see her sitting right up front with Luffy as they're riding the cat, and she is leading them, pointing them towards the direction that they need to go, essentially to the other side where they could break the glass and break the wall so that then they could escape. That is once again another showcase of Nami's leadership skills, where she can take the reign for when she is needed to do so and point Luffy towards the direction. Very similar to how essentially Nami will lead Luffy towards Lapdol to become the Pirate King, right? It's literally showcasing her leadership and her ability as a navigator to Luffy, and it's really a perfect example of like what their roles are. And that is something very important to like identify why Nami is so goddamn good at what she does and why she can't really be replaced, because she is an expert at her position, right? This idea that Nami can be replaced by any other navigator is such a silly idea. It's a silly idea made by people who are afraid or who don't want Nami to get something or feel like she's important. This whole idea about vice captain and all that crap, right? That it's such a silly idea, because like at the end of the day, Nami is going to be the one to get Luffy to Lapdol. Robin will be important in finding out, and discovering what is said in these red poneglyphs to lead, Luffy to Lapdol. There's no denying that. I'm not even saying that she won't be a big, huge part of it, because she has to read the poneglyphs in order for Nami to map it out. But Nami eventually is going to have to lead them to there. She's probably going to have to venture out into a very dangerous water. She will navigate them, and that is her role as a navigator, right? Luffy will follow her orders when it comes to directions, when it comes to navigation, which is going to be very important to eventually when she gets to Lapdol. And one other thing is that if you really want to take it into like a very shipping moment, it could very well be something incredibly good for Luffy Nami shippers towards like as like an epilogue or towards the end of One Piece, because like Luffy's going to continue going on adventures and he's going to need someone to help him with directions. Nami is still the perfect person, to do that. I explained it a little bit in a video I made. You could definitely check it out. I will be like in the thumbnail at the end of the video and a link down below. But like this can really help for those who ship Luffy Nami as well. So that's also a bonus there. But let's move on from that into essentially this display of power that Nami showcased when she uses Zeus, who is part of our arsenal. We'll get more into it. That she's able to create this divine retribution, this natural disaster, which can play a huge part in what Nami's essentially role could be in later on in the story, right? She is able to create this huge thunderstorm. She even asks, even Usopp's like earthquake, hurricane, thunderstorm, that kind of stuff. No one's really could take responsibilities for that because it's natural weather. Nami's abilities to recreate weather anomalies or like weather stuff like this, like the thunderbolt, is going to play huge in my opinion, right? It's going to play so huge in like what her abilities, what her arsenal is, and it could connect to her lore as well. You know, it's a very unique thing that she's able to recreate all this stuff. It could be just from her knowledge, from, you know, her study of the science as well. Could very well just be that. It could not be connected at all to her lore, that in her future lore that Oda said that there will be. So it's very well possible, right? But I think it just showcases that Nami and weather, who, you know, Cobra once said that like the weather can only be controlled by gods. It literally lines up for Nami to be considered a goddess, because guess what? She's able to create these weather phenomenons using her knowledge of science. Thunderstorms, who knows? Maybe in the future she might be able to create a fucking cyclone for all we know. I mean, I don't know how likely that is, but like that shows an example of like how Nami, with her knowledge, can become a very strong character. We see this huge lightning bolt because, you know, she feeds Zeus all of the electro bolts to power him up and uses his thunderbolt to strike down on Road. It's amazing. It's freaking amazing, right? And people will downplay it because, you know, it's just a simple thunderbolt that, you know, you've seen with Big Mom and stuff like that. But it still showcases that she has that kind of power. It's essentially a reminder just how strong she can be. She can be when she's pissed off or angry at somebody, right? Like you've seen, or you could deduce what Road did, which is essentially undress her. You know, Sanji made a comment on that as well. She was mad about that. I guarantee you she was probably pissed off about that, and the way he was speaking and stuff, like he was very weird, right? And she took advantage of the area that they were in, where, you know, there were, you know, clouds of cotton up there. She used Zeus as a way to hide within that and struck him down without him ever noticing what was happening, right? That's part of like Nami's skill set, you know, being invisible, doing things where like she's preparing something so that out of nowhere this lightning strike happens. You see with like Mirage Temple and stuff like that with Fishman Island, and it showcases just Nami's skill set. She is a thief. She's very sneaky. You know, she can do a lot of things where, like, you know, magicians make you look at the hand, like the hand with the ball, but do something else with the other hand, right, to prepare the magic trick. That's essentially what Nami did here, right? The guy was too focused on them, and he didn't notice that Nami was preparing Zeus for this big attack. And it showcases just how powerful Nami can be when she prepares and when she has this huge, you know, increases the power of Zeus as, you know, he prepares to strike down. And she does it. She does it through the climate attack. This is very important because a lot of people argue, right, that Nami is essentially not doing, you know, this isn't Nami's power. It is Big Mom's power because Big Mom has Zeus's soul and all that stuff, right? But the thing is that you cannot claim this and say something like, oh, well, Usopp did this amazing thing with, you know, the things he created, like like his ammo, right? Or use it for, you know, Zoro and his sword, or Sanji and his jeans. Like, those are all part of their arsenals and what makes them strong. It enhances them. It makes them stronger, right? Why is that so different to like what Nami does? If Zeus did not get fed electro balls, he would not be using this type of attack. If it wasn't for the electro balls that Nami keeps feeding him to make him big, make him stronger, she would not have this type of attack power. This is her power level. This is how she attacks. Just because it's not similar to how you view power scaling, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that you have to completely avoid what Nami's actual attack power is and how strong she is. It's so ridiculous that people do this for Nami and not anybody else. It's just so stupid. Like, Nami literally stole this from a Yonko, a goddamn Yonko, because she's a thief and she uses his abilities now, and Zeus is part of her now because, you know, he's her partner now in terms of, like, you know, their arsenal as her arsenal, and people try very hard to deny this. It's so frustrating. It's so stupid when everyone else, you know, praises someone else who probably does the same exact thing. it's ridiculous. Nami's always going to be the one who always gets this sort of like this doubt when it comes to this certain things, and it's, as a Nami fan, it's frustrating. It really is. Like, you cannot, like, how, like, why is it so difficult to give Nami her, you know, her stars, you know, her, like, just be happy Nami's able to use an attack like that, you know. It showcases that she is strong, right? There's also the argument that, you know, she wouldn't be able to do this because Usopp created the climb attack. Okay, he did create it, but he created it as some sort of fucking party, you know, goof thing. You know, she literally, it's literally in the first fight that she uses it, where like she reads the instructions Usopp puts, and he uses it as something, and he created it just for like a party favor, to have fun at parties. But it was her knowledge of weather, it was her knowledge of science that allowed her to create and make this climate, this so-called party favor, into an actual weapon. It was through her talents, through her knowledge, through the science. All of this is important, right? It's all of this. It's like saying that Luffy creating an attack based off like his intelligence during battle means nothing. She's doing this the same way. She's clever. She doesn't fight through brute strength. What she does is that she takes advantage of certain things in her arsenal, with her knowledge, with her cleverness, to allow them to create this goddamn attack. And so many people seem to not understand this and try to downplay her so freaking much. It's annoying. It's frustrating, right? Nami fans keep defending this, and people who don't want her to be strong for some really petty reason, some reason of envy, to think that like because Nami is getting stronger, she's going to be, you know, stronger than their favorite character. Like, why are you so afraid of that? You don't have to compare. You don't have to compete at all. This is why I don't like power scaling in general in One Piece, because it's always a competition to see who could say why their character is stronger than the other. There's no reason for that. Everyone should be strong enough heading into this adventure and heading into these battles to be able to hold off against villains. That's the point of this. Everyone wants to compete. Everyone wants to have their character be better than everyone else. We don't have to do that. We could simply just appreciate everyone's strength and ability. It's like people think that if Nami gets stronger, she's going to beat out Sanji, beat out Zoro as the strongest man of the crew, and that is not the case. That is not her role. Sanji and Zoro are going to be that role of being the wings of the Pirate King. Literally right below Luffy in terms of strength. That's the point. That's what the narrative is telling you. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to feel like you're scared that Nami will be better than them. Or if you think that Nami will be better than Robin in terms of power and strength, you don't have to worry about that at all. If Nami and Robin are both strong, that's great. That is fantastic. That is perfect. I'd rather have that than make them compete. This is why I don't talk about power scaling so often, because it's always a fight. It's always a competition. It's ridiculous. But this showcases Nami's power and fighting capabilities, and just overall tremendous great like way of her showing that she could handle her own when she needs to. She doesn't need to be handheld. She doesn't need to be babied at all. She can deal a lot of damage when she needs to, right? So again, another part of Nami's character is showcased here as at how good of a character she is, right? And it's just so fantastic. And it's just, oh my god, this chapter was so goddamn good for Nami. Like, holy crap, it is so good. There is a few things that weren't very, I wasn't very. There was a few things that I wasn't very happy about this chapter, such as Road talking about Nami and undressing her. That was just, it's just a whole Absalom situation when the zombies undressed her to put her in a wedding dress. It's the same situation. It's so gross. It's so disgusting. Like, I don't know why Oda does it. It's so strange. I hate it so much. And Nami has every right to be disgusted and gross about what he did, right? I do know about the panel, about the looks like a good Luffy Nami panel, right? Where Rogue calls her a queen. Turns out the queen isn't necessarily in the Raw, so I don't know why TCB made that translation. Who knows? I'm not entirely sure why, but it's definitely on the Raw. So essentially, that whole queen line thing, if you're a Luffy Nami fan, it's unfortunate that that's not a thing. That was actually in the Raw, so that kind of sucks, right? So it goes against the whole thing about, you know, Nami's queenly naturness that I mentioned in the stream. It does suck a little bit that it's not the case, but you know, it was a good hour of like something to be happy about, I guess. But if it's not on the Raw, then I can't really use it as anything. You know, I'm still gonna wait for the official to see what the official says. But if the Raw doesn't say that, then to me the Raw is a little bit more viable to use as like proof of anything. So we'll see. I'll still see what the official says. But like at the end of the day, the Raw is still for me what I prefer, because that's literally Oda's own writing. It's himself. Aside from that, you know, Nami was just so good in this chapter. And someone mentioned this, I believe his name was John Titor on Twitter, about how like this idea that this entire Toyland situation is very much a resemblance of like what One Piece is as a whole, where you going on this grand adventure, you know, you're heading towards your goal, like everything is like a fake imagery of like, you know, what whoever the big bad boss is trying to portray, and then you're trying to block or destroy a wall or glass to reveal the true nature of like whatever it is or wherever it is that they are in. And I thought that was a very interesting point to add. I'll post that tweet later in the comments below if you want to check it out. But I thought that was a very good comment. And yeah, I could see it. Like, you literally see this. And it's really interesting because it's like this whole situation is very much similar to how like the times where Oda has drawn those color spreads of like, you know, the medieval, the chess pieces and all that stuff, right? Where you have Luffy and Nami leading the way as like a king and queen. Then you have Sanji and Zoro being the knights who defend against them, you know, who defend them, and you know, like they did when they attacked the net, as well as Chopper and Usopp being like the, I mean, Usopp was the one who started that, who broke the glass. He couldn't break the wall, so he kind of was like the vanguard in that situation. So kind of like a bishop, and then Chopper was a pawn, I guess. I mean, the Chopper is just like a, it's, Chopper should have gotten more in this chapter. That's all I'm gonna say. But it very much resembles that, of that kind of medieval, I don't know if the right word is hierarchy, but like power structure or whatever. But it's essentially similar to like how Oda views things, which is, you know, if you want to use that for any Luffy Nami debate, the idea of it is good. I mean, I wouldn't use this as like pure evidence. I mean, just whoo, there's so much Nami stuff from this. It's like, god damn. We even got a good discuss face from Nami, which is great. And that would be a great meme potential, so that's awesome. But yeah, like so many good things with Nami, and it also like that. I do want to make one other comment. Like 2 chapters ago, where we had Nami running around and stuff like that, being scared. You know, I wasn't a big fan of it, but here she showcased like when she has that confidence, she's able to be brave as heck. Like holy hell, like she can hold her own, and it showcased just like every single part of her character, her quality was shown in this chapter. The, you know, like the good things, like why she's important, why she's the character that she is, right? You know, we thought that 2 chapters ago she kind of got a little, you know, downgraded a little bit because of she was just running around scared. But to be fair, she was in a new place, she didn't know where she was, so it was a little strange. So, you know, normally any normal person would be scared about like where they are, where they suddenly wake up in a weird place. But once she gains that confidence and gets that strength, we see so much potential in her where she can lead the way. It's so good. We saw that in Strong World. We saw that with Ulti. We saw that, you know, in Water 7, and how brave and courageous she was in Enies Lobby. Like, she has those moments that should be appreciated and should be recognized more by the community, you know, not just the scared part of her. And I love that Oda showcased that as well, and that Nami can be very brave. And she can be a very good leader, so that was great. This overall, this entire chapter was so fantastic for Nami fans. So celebrate, Nami fans. I'm celebrating it, and like, god damn, this was a great chapter for Nami fans. Like overall, just so great. It resembles so much of like One Piece in general, like pre-time skip adventures. It's just so good. Oh, so good. So yeah, thank you so much. Hopefully you enjoyed this video of me just talking and so much about Nami. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Maybe I missed something, because I am going this off the top of my head, so I apologize for that. But like, yeah, if you have anything, else to add, let me know in the comments. I would love to discuss and be like, oh yeah, you're right. And yeah, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time for hopefully next chapter, more Nami goodness. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time.